Hey, good afternoon. How are you? Welcome to
Hello.
Free Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's always so nice to have new people on and people from around the world. Can you tell everyone where in the world are you right now?
Yes. So I am in the United States in Orlando, Florida.
Okay. And your name that's most popular or people will find you as?
Yes. So my name is Felicia Dhanani, and you can connect with me. There's very few of me out there, so I'm kind of easy to find, which is
Good,
nice.
good. Because I've been able to talk to someone from Kerala and the other parts of India. I've been just spoken to someone from South Africa. I've spoken to a group in the Philippines, and because I speak to everyone, I think on my platform, Free Talk with Mr. B, I want everyone to give something back so someone somewhere else in the world can benefit from it. And that has been my aim, and it's been working out for me so far.
Well, I love that. I think that is such a beautiful way to keep the world connected, right? I
Right?
think we've learned more than ever this past year and a half is that connection is that's our nature, and to have different people like you that are creating platforms like that is wonderful.
I like it very much. And when we use the term philanthropist a lot, in that everyone thinks that you have to have a boatload of money to give to someone else to get a wing of a hospital named after us. But it's not feasible for everyone. And so I was thinking, what can everyone do to give back? And I said,
Mm.
there's something priceless. We all have experiences, small or big. We all have experiences that someone else can benefit from. And that way we can give that back. Priceless.
Priceless. Absolutely. Absolutely. Our lives and stories hold so much value, and sometimes we don't realize that.
Great. So, what have you been doing in Florida? What have you been giving back?
Yeah, absolutely. So, right now, I am working on a platform that I've created called Spark Soul. And this is a global platform for people in the personal growth or personal development industry. So for me, I have been in this personal growth journey for many years. But I also, years ago, used to put on a big health and wellness expo. And with COVID and life happenings, a lot of that has changed. So this idea kind of came to me that we're all on some sort of growth journey. And
Yeah.
again, through the pandemic, many of us learned that investment in things such as cars and clothes and jewelry and all of that stuff doesn't actually have the return that we think it does.
True,
And
true.
didn't actually hold the value that we needed during this time, right? When we were isolated, a lot of things started to show up for many people. So, what I've seen is that people now more than ever need a place to go to connect with people and help them through their personal growth journey and help them through this process, because when we can do it together, it really expedites people's
So,
growth process.
so then you said it again too that there should have been accumulation of valuable things, and it wasn't the cars, but it was the human connection ended up being
Yes,
the most valuable thing.
the most valuable, and
Okay,
the work that people might have invested in themselves. There was a huge uprise in things such as online learning, right? People
right,
had
right, right.
time and they thought, what am I going to do with this time? So they decided, I'm going to invest in myself to develop my knowledge, my wisdom, my skill
Yes.
set. And that is the type of investment that carries us through our lives, carries us through generations, because like what you're doing, it allows us to then give back to people.
Right, right. And so, I mean, it was in the middle of pandemic last October that I started doing this too. So as I was facing retirement, I always wanted to occupy myself and my mind with something and giving back. Now, I like cooking, but I just couldn't do that enough to fill my time, you know? But I didn't want to come to the end of my journey with everything in my head. I wanted to let it out and free it and said, I think a few of us had similar thoughts. And so I said, let me go around collecting them so that we can share it in a podcast or video cast so someone can benefit. A young person could learn new, someone going through a struggle can benefit, you know? And so who comes to you for their advice the most, do you think?
Yeah.
Who would you want to come to you?
So this specific platform called Spark Soul is a membership-based platform for other coaches, therapists, counselors, and different healers to come together as a community that, again, has been vetted and has a very much a like mindset for global transformation. And then anybody in the world can come to and connect with what I call some of the best in the world at what they do, to get, whether it's one-on-one coaching, it can be group coaching, it can be online trainings, whatever it might be.
Right.
But this small group of a vetted community, because I think also there's so many coaches out there and so many counselors and people that do offer these services, but it's difficult to connect with them. And sometimes we don't know if they're a good fit for us. So
Right.
This is a platform in which they can engage and they can feel secure knowing that this is a community that has 100% of a growth mindset and their transformation in their forefront.
Right. Because I read an article about employees who were kind of concerned about working from home, that they would not get the relationship building and the interaction that they would if they were in the office. But at the same time, it removed a lot of the biases that came with working from home. Like you didn't have to worry about how you dress, or if you were judged by your attire or your speech, or what do you like to eat, or how the microwave functions and so on. And so you can still just do your work and get results or promotions based on who you are, not on who you were buddy with.
Yes, absolutely. And then I think the connections that we do have with people, they're so intentional, right? We
Right.
literally set an appointment to talk to somebody, and there's a lot of intention behind it, which makes them, I believe, more meaningful. And look, we're kind of letting each other, like you're in my home right now, right? You get to see my surroundings and my personal space, and like my little daughter could run in. And so as much as there's some barriers, there's also kind of a vulnerability that comes with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm an empty nester. So my wife downstairs, I have a little sign that says on air. So she doesn't, so she wouldn't run around. And then here in the studio, as we can build our virtual studio, I can be consistent for what I want to do. But yes, when I communicate with my team, one person is in India right now, another is in Dubai, another in Michigan. My son is in Michigan, and I'm here in Houston. And then Monday, I'll be back over to Dubai. But we are so connected and interconnected.
Yes.
And you mentioned the word purposeful, Now, in the past, because of our behaviors, we had a bag of tools. How do you see the bag of tools today?
So I believe that our bag of tools has, don't even want to say has grown. I just think it's shifted. I think we're getting tools that are going to help us in our longevity of life. Like they're going to last us. It's not, right, what do I need right now? But I've seen people adopt tools such as, breathing techniques and how to spend 5 minutes during the day with a lot of intention, how to be more present. And, you know, these are tools that are really important for, again, not only us now, but at all phases of our life.
Now, I have to be honest because I was pushing you in one direction. You asked the question, why color with an 8-color crayon and leave 64 behind? I love that. Why color with only 8?
My post this morning. Yes.
Is it because I'm a very colorful person and I do not want to be limited or gated in with just 8 colors? I want 64. So tell me about that. That's a new tool set.
Yes. Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up. So as you can see, I'm someone also that likes a lot of color. And, you know, we talk about physical color and colors we wear, but also how we live our life. What are we allowing ourselves to participate in? I believe there's been a lot of belief systems that, like, if we're an engineer, we follow this path. And if we are in marketing, we follow this path. And it doesn't have to be like that anymore. No. I think we have broken boundaries that you can do and dabble in whatever you want. And you can have an interest in cooking, and you can also have an interest in you know, throwing child birthday parties, and you can have an interest in coding all at the same time.
All at the same time. I love that.
And nobody should tell us that, oh, but this is correct and this is correct. So that post this morning was also about also how we communicate. So allowing ourselves to use all 64 colors, but also recognizing that some people may not be there yet. And so if they're coloring with only 8 crayons, we just need to recognize that. And the analogy was, you know, recognizing as if a child potty training, we don't get angry at them that they can't go to the bathroom yet in the potty. We just understand that's just where they're at. And that's their limited capacity at this moment, but their opportunity for growth is just as great as ours.
Right. And I just, I don't mind if someone uses just 8 crayons, but I want it to be their choice. I want them to know that they have 56 remaining and they're choosing to do it. You know, and so that's a whole different emotion.
That's a great point.
Than someone is telling us that we just know you have to stay. Same thing, like if I'm in engineering, I don't have to have engineering friends. I can have podcasting friends. I do shows and presentations, but I'm an oil guy. You know, it's all for 30 years of my life or more. And so I refuse to be gated in. And so if I'm in my 60th year, someone might tell me I can't do this or that anymore. And I was like, just watch me.
Just wait.
And so I just think we want to pull the limitations. And even COVID, I'll go through the process and the procedures necessary to go from place to place. But I follow my behavioral patterns that I've had long before this pandemic, so as to keep myself safe and keep myself healthy. One of the things that's coming up, and I was wondering if you have coaching, counseling, or ones in your group that talks about something that's trending right now called burnout.
Absolutely.
How are you guys approaching that one?
Absolutely. So I personally coach in what's called kind of self-connection, but also resilience coaching. So in the respect with burnout, a lot of times, and that can come from different areas, and there's a lot of tools and techniques that can be used, but a lot of it is starting to recognize the underlying pattern of where it's starting. And typically it might come from belief systems of overworking ourselves and not recognizing, right? We don't recognize when we need a break, and we almost have to know we're not a machine, and even machines need breaks. And so there's tools. What I like to use with my clients is once we start to really understand the underlying factors of where that comes from, and that can be sort of that perfectionist mentality, always feeling like we have to prove ourselves, because of lack. It could be just feeling unworthy. So we're always striving for perfection. Yeah. We're always, and sometimes even when we're not asked, we're volunteering because we want to be that person. And
but it's interesting because we could be burnt out on one thing, but yet not on the other. It doesn't mean burnout means burnout on everything. We may need a little change to give us the energy we're looking for.
Oh, that's exactly right. And that's where I was leading into. So when we start to recognize that, then you start to go, is it the job or is it parenthood? Is it, sometimes it's not necessarily like it's taking some things off your plate so you can make time to do something else.
Yeah.
It's not just about laying down and resting. Sometimes our fuel might be starting a podcast. Our fuel might be writing a book. It might be doing something else, but what fuels us, but you do have to clear your plate of the other stuff to make some time for that. But yes, you're right.
Balance it out, right?
Balance it out.
Sometimes we try to explain to kids what they're going through, but no one in particular usually comes to us adults and explain to us what we're going through. So when I was burnt out, I think back a few times, but back in 2007, I recognized I had just went back to school at nighttime and was managing a major capital project. I was burnt out, so I quit my job for 6 months. But at least I said I knew that's what it was. I said, I'm really tired. I was working day and night and pushing, but it was an explanation that helped me recover. Because if you're going through something and you don't have an explanation, like I think when my son was 13 and he was starting to misbehave, my youngest, I told him, I bet you're growing and your hormones are just acting up. And I took him to the wall where we last put a mark. And I says, I bet. And he says, let's see. And he was 2 inches taller. I took a risk on telling him what that was, but it helped him calm down completely because he got an explanation as to why, because he didn't know why he was misbehaving.
Right.
So, kids are like that, and us adults too. If we had some kind of rationale as to why or what we're going through, it might help us make it through.
Yes. And I think that's why I'm such a big supporter of that coaching relationship or that counseling relationship, because no matter where we're at in our life, it's always nice to have somebody that can tell us that can say, hey, look, I get it. I see life is stressful, and give us that reasoning, because you're right. We all need that. And when we can have, and again, this can even be a dear friend, whoever it might be, but we have people in our lives as adults that tell us, hey, this is what you might be experiencing.
Right. And so it really, really makes a difference to have persons like you, organizations like you that can help, places that we can go. And I know we have ailments and we have mental issues and we have tendencies, whether it's suicidal or otherwise, and we need help. I think you are so correct. Going from 8 crayons to 64 crayons could be overwhelming for some people, but we need to help to feel free enough to try them and to touch them and maybe to be told it's okay to change the color, because there's no rules.
That's right. But we feel like there are, and sometimes we just need someone to give us permission, someone to say, it's okay, take out the red, you can do it.
I interviewed a doctor who become a dear friend, and she talks about decoding us and Sarmiska. And so I was like, I really like what's being said there, because I'm too convinced I need to be exactly this way. And so I didn't mind being decoded so I can live a free life. And so there's a lot of ways to approach our ailments, our social and mental and environmental ailments, so we can function. And the pandemic makes us rethink our whole lives so that we can move forward. So I'm very,
It
very glad.
does. It does. And I think, as long as we can look at it like it's a process, but it can be a beautiful process, right? Like it's taken us time to get here. And so that recoding, the rewiring, the unraveling it takes time and it's a process. But if you look at it as sort of a freeing and an unhinging, it's a beautiful place to be at the end.
Very, very good. So this subject matters. It matters to me. I know it's going to really help our audience and so on. You have a lot of subjects that you're passionate about, and other members of your team also.
Yes.
We'll pass this on to them and maybe get some of them to come on and to share some of their wisdom and knowledge.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we have group sessions too. So
okay.
I've done an interview. Like, for example, if you were on and you brought a friend who you really wanted to have this conversation with between us, we can do something like that too, because we really need to get it out there and popularize all of these notions that it's okay to do something different. It's okay to use all the crayons. It's okay to color outside of the lines.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I just have to say this, it is okay. And even when we go through challenging times. So for me, this past year and a half, I moved back to my home state. I have gotten a divorce recently. I'm a single mom. Hard things happen, but that doesn't mean great things don't come out of it. It doesn't mean we can't blossom. And that doesn't mean you use less colors when things happen. Sometimes those are the opportunities for us to get really bright. And that's something also I feel very strongly for, is that, yes, sometimes the path doesn't go the way we planned, and that's okay.
And you make a good point. When those are the opportunities to do something, some people would like to crawl in their shell and hide.
Yes.
No, because if you crawl out and just do something immaculate, what else could go wrong, right? So you might as well take the opportunity,
Use it as your chance.
There are times when someone's home got damaged off of one reason or another. They took that opportunity to remodel the home the way they wanted it to. They didn't put everything back the way it was. And so that's your chance to make yourself new and to renew things and to take the risk. Also, another group, other conversations I've had, I remind everyone that I'm a product of a single mom. And I tell everyone the way I turned out was not held up or was not manipulated by the circumstances I was in. So I knew I wanted to break the mold and change everything so that I will be not just a product that's damaged, but a product that's brilliant, as brilliant as I can propose to be.
I love that. You're speaking to my heart. And I'm doing a podcast with another girl now, specifically for single mothers, and how, they can use their past relationship as a mirror for their own personal growth. And it's also about conscious co-parenting, if that's an opportunity, but that divorce doesn't have to be this messy, ugly process if you don't want it to be. There are other ways, and breaking that stigma, breaking the mold, that there shouldn't be the shame around it, right? There's a lot of growth and
and the children are impacted, and so they may be very small toddlers or they may be teenagers, but that's to let them know that's not going to define your outcome. In fact, they should never make it define their outcome and do something brilliant to say, watch me kind of behavior.
That's right. And I think that's what defines it more than anything, is that as parents, what we decide to do afterwards, how we decide to handle it, is really how they receive it.
Right. So very, very good. So we'll definitely get together with these subjects. This scenario I'm building now as we get to the close is saying that you were invited to the no, let's go for the White House. And the audience were invited was a developmental audience called single moms. And you were the keynote speaker and you were telling them everything you wanted to tell them. But at the end, you wanted to leave with them a fundamental message as a form of giving back. You just want to take it from your heart. You just made it up and you want to tell them, giving back a story. What would you tell them to leave with them as giving back?
I would lead with that we as women and as mothers are more than our relationships. We're more than even our children. And things didn't go the way we planned, but that's because there's something bigger. And we're meant for something bigger. And it's up to us to step into those roles and to share our gifts that the world is waiting for.
Very, very nice and very profound. Because indeed, you are bigger than the shoes you came in. You are bigger than the singleness of yourself. As a group and as an individual, you have way more to do and can be done. So thank you very much for telling this group that. And it's what we give back to them. And I appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So this was wonderful. I look forward to talking to you again. And again, we will have a great opportunity to have these type of conversations. And I'm going to share it with the world.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate this. This was such a pleasure. So Thank you for having me on. I look forward to it in the future. Okay. Have a wonderful trip to Dubai as well.
Thank you. I have quite a few programs and some more interviews, and I would try to keep going until I can't keep going anymore.
Absolutely. Yes, you have bigger shoes. Absolutely. Lots to do.
Thank you. We have lots to do. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful afternoon.
You as well. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.